Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming along tonight to our virtual farm tour for the Northeast Organic Group. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Shannon Facker. I work for SEC Consulting. I'm based in the Stonehaven office up in the Northeast. I'm joined tonight by my colleague Cameron, who's helping me out with the technology. So he's doing everything behind the scene to make sure that tonight runs as smoothly as possible. If you're okay to go to the next slide, please, Cameron. So the plan for tonight is to be finished by 8 o'clock. We've got 4 videos to show you and time for questions from Craig and Chris after each video. So without further ado, we will get started with the videos. If you have any questions as we go through the videos, please feel free to put them in the questions and answers box. And like I said, we'll answer them at the end.
Yeah, so firstly, welcome to Teasses Estate. We are an 1,100 acre traditional sporting farming estate in the northeast of Fife. The estate's been here since 1204, but the current family bought the estate in 1996 and have done a huge amount of work to restore nature, to improve farming, and to create an amazing space on our quite small 1,100 acres. Our main enterprises are sporting, so we're shooting partridges, pheasants and ducks through to the end of the season, which is the end of January. And that's the real reason the estate exists today. When Sir Fraser bought the estate, he wanted a place which was excellent shooting. And over the course of the last 30 years has created 400 acres of new woodland, 12 miles of new hedges, 5 ponds, restored 40 acres of peat moorland, which is great for nature and it's fantastic for our biodiversity, but the real purpose is for shooting. To help manage the land, he decided he would farm the land too. So we farm around about 600 acres. And we've been organic since 2006. And part of that decision to move organic at that stage was driven by market, but mostly it was about having respect for land. When he bought the estate, it was pretty derelict, been over-farmed, all the properties were derelict, and so he decided when you put the energy, care and investment into a place, you should get it right from the tiniest detail. So converting to organic was important for him. At that stage, it was just cattle. We were producing beef. We still produce beef now. It's our main farm income. But now we also have organic sheep. We grow organic oats and barley. That's just for feeding to our cattle over winter. We cut silage. Everything's closed. We do everything on the estate to sustain the farm. And the sort of final, I suppose, enterprise is our events and weddings business, and the gardens are open to the public. So on our little 1,100 acres, we actually cover quite a lot of ground, and it's sort of a little perfect model of a Scottish estate. The benefits of being organic for a farming estate now is ultimately the benefit to wildlife and nature. We see a huge number of insects, from the tiniest little gnats and flies, which would suffer under conventional farming, where you're spraying herbicides, pesticides, you're draining land. That helps feed the wider food network, and our biodiversity is incredible. A survey last year showed that we had something like 130 species of bird on the estate, compared to a neighbour of ours, which is a nature reserve. They have about half the biodiversity. I put that down mostly to the organic practices that we have here. We're not applying any harmful chemicals. We're nurturing the land. Sure, there are still things, even after 20 years of organic farming, that we need to learn, and we're seeing new things all the time, and we're exploring new options, and we're changing our practice in line with what we need as a business. So for example, bringing in the sheep, we did that because we saw a rising issue of weed in our arable fields. Conventionally we could just go into those fields and spray them, but under the organic system we can't do that. So we brought sheep on, and they'll graze off the weeds. They'll graze, herbs which are harmful to cattle. We don't need to spray. We don't need to bring in squads of guys to pull out ragwort, for example. It's a holistic approach. So the whole farm is organic, and we've converted, or at least we've brought some of those practices into the garden. So the garden here is 60 acres. We now garden the garden organically, which means we're not applying herbicides, pesticides onto the food that we're eating. It's the full cycle. If you're putting it into your body, you want to be sure what you're putting into your body. And that in turn is reflected in the landscape. You want to know exactly what's happening in the land. You want the land to be self-sustaining. We're going through so much climate change at the moment that you need to know that your ground's resilient, that it can withstand periods of dry, that it can recover from periods of wet and flooding. And we've got that right here. Constraints about being organic just now, a couple of things. So there are quick fixes in conventional systems. You can just go and do. If you have a pest or disease that you need to deal with, you can just go and do it. But with an organic system, we need to think much more fully, longer term, treatment for a weed or a disease in consultation with our vets. And we've got a really good working relationship with our vet. And that's sort of essential for an organic livestock farm. We just have to think a little bit more widely. That's not a bad thing, but it just takes a bit more energy. And then I guess the other main constraint is we are totally, like everybody, but especially at risk of the market changing. Food prices are so high and are getting higher. The organic market is still a premium market. And the fear would be that people stop buying organic because they just can't afford to do that. And from my perspective, yes, that's bad for the business, but it's also bad for the environment. It's bad for society. We definitely don't want people to be choosing lower quality or lower nutritional food because they can't afford better. And that would be a fear that happens. And we as organic producers would need to react to that. And it would affect our business and our ability to continue to do that. As far as the business of the farm and its sort of financial position, our farm does make a small profit. With subsidy on top of that, we make quite a healthy profit, and that all goes back into the estate and helps us continue the work that we're doing on the estate. It would be an ambition of mine and of most producers and farmers that we manage to do that without subsidy. So when Sir Fraser bought the estate about 30 years ago, there were 2 full-time members of staff running the whole estate, and at that time the estate was slightly bigger. Now we have about 15 full-time members of staff. That's across the gardens, the farm, the gamekeeping, admin support, events. With contractors and part-time staff, we probably support 30 families in the community, which is another great kind of thing to celebrate from our perspective. Most people who work on the estate full-time are living on the estate, so we have quite a nice little community. And most people, in fact everybody, is multi-skilled, and we share the responsibilities across the place. If anyone needs help with anything, we divert to that. Yeah, there is an argument that we could use more staff, certainly when it comes to the event side of the business, and that's the newest part of the business, so we're going to be learning and changing and adapting. And I think that's key for diversification, is being able to adapt in time. And I think we've got that. We're well in the throes of diversification now. And that will in turn bring its own staff needs and community needs. About 7 or 8 years ago, we had a total culture change. And there was a realization that there are a lot of people in our community whose fathers, grandfathers, uncles, aunts worked on Teasses, and at one point Teasses was this big employer in the area. And I don't think that had been recognised by the family, or they hadn't appreciated the value of that. Maybe that would be fair to say. And So we first of all started to open the gardens and engage with the community. I would go out and do talks and things to the rural or whoever, and you would always find, oh yeah, such and such work there. Oh, I'd love to see it again. And so we thought, yeah, you know what? This is still important to people. Had the conversation with the family, and they were like, we've totally overlooked that. Let's go for it. And then they were fully behind having a public engagement between the estate and the community. So we now open the garden on a Thursday and a Friday. It's free to the local community. They can come and wander through the gardens. And we set up a really lovely tea room in our greenhouse. And in there we'll sell plants from the nursery, veg from the garden. We'll share information about other things that are happening in the community, events that we'll be doing. And it's become a real community hub. And so this year, for the first year, we've decided just to keep the gardens open to the public all year. We would normally open April to September, but we're just going to keep them open because the community are gathering here and having lunch and sitting for the afternoon and chit-chatting. Now, from a business perspective, it doesn't really generate any additional income, but what it does do is it completely couples us up with the people around us, the people who we rely on. And that's been a key change to how we approach the business of the estate.
Right, great. Thank you very much for that. I was just going to introduce you both, Craig and Chris. Craig, you are the estate manager at Teasses, and Chris, you are the farm manager at Teasses. So to kick off the questions, is there a next generation coming into the estate?
Yeah, there is. We have when we were having the conversations with the Sir Fraser and Lady Morrison about making the estate self-funding, and that's kind of where we want to get to. And we're very, very close to doing that. It's been a long journey. But the primary driver for that was to ensure that the next generation were interested in taking the place on. Nobody wants to take on something that's going to cost them, $250,000 a year. So we're on a kind of business transition with that. We've got the immediate next generation, the children of Sir Fraser and Lady Morrison, but we also have the grandchildren of Sir Fraser and Lady Morrison involved too, and they come and work. We've had a few of the older ones come and work on the estate and have a real buy-in. So there is the family have only had the estate for about 30 years, so there's not a heritage of the family here. It's not like having your kind of 200-year-old, 300-year-old house that you need to keep going. They could walk away from it quite easily. But we have this buy-in for the next two generations, which is quite cool.
Great, thank you. And another question, are you just selling your veg locally to people who come into your cafe, or is it going anywhere else?
No, it's all just sold at the greenhouse when the gardens are open to the local community. Our kitchens use whatever we've got, and we donate some to, local food trusts and food charities as well. But it's all just local from here. We don't produce that much that it would be hugely commercial.
Okay, perfect. And if anyone else has any more questions, they can pop them in just now. But if not, I think we will carry on and get on the next video.
So the sheep enterprise we have here at Teasses is we have Aberfield cross Cheviot and Aberfield cross Highlander sheep, which are Innovis bred sheep. We put them to the Innovis Primera tup for easy lambing and fat lamb production is what we're aiming for, is fat lambs. For the first time this year, we're keeping our own bred ewe lambs just to try and see if buying in organic stock. Our system for the sheep is they're outside all year round, lamb outside. We do as little input as we possibly can with them. We put rings on them and stuff at lambing time and number the lambs. Other than that, we don't touch them at all. The next job's shearing, and then after that they're just outside, left alone to get on with it. We just, as little as possible. The numbers for the sheep enterprise, we have 160 breeding ewes at the moment. We've got 64 ewe lambs that we're keeping for ourselves. And we've got about 100 lambs in the process of being fattened at the moment. Just over 60 ready to go, and the rest are just getting very nearly ready to go. For the finishing lambs at the moment, we put them away as soon as they're ready. So basically the first lot's ready now to go. So we just wean them off their mothers onto some red clover grass, finish them on that. And then our market at the moment is through Border Livestock Exchange, and it's down to Dorncarnaby down in Yorkshire, because that's where we're getting the best price at the moment for the fat lambs. Our sheep fit in with the cattle enterprise and organic system very well. We use them mainly, they follow the cows around, eat all the stuff the cows don't eat out the fields. They eat the poisonous ragwort out of the fields. And yeah, they just follow the cows around. Every time the cows move to a different field, we put sheep into that field to eat up anything the cows haven't eaten. We might try and graze them over the organic crops in the spring, just to take any trash or weeds out of them as well. I'm a bit nervous about trying that, but we might try it and see what happens. But yeah, the sheep are just as minimal input as we can possibly get away with, and they do all the weed control and tidy up that the cows won't eat. The reason we chose the Innovis bred sheep is because they're all high health. They're all tested for everything going. You know what you're buying in when you're buying them in, which is what was important when we first bought sheep in. We didn't want to buy in anything, any disease or anything like that. So if you buy through Innovis, they're Mary Visner tested, they're proven sheep. And they're bred to be a low input type of sheep, which is what we need. For the lambing system, it is as minimal as possible. We lamb everything outside. We put all the sheep in one field. Last year, I think we lambed about 5 of sheep out of what we had. And we just basically catch the lambs, put the rings on them, and move them out the field once they've lambed, and keep doing that until the field's empty. The field we lamb in, it's on a part of the estate where everybody drives through all the time. So anybody can be checking the sheep, the gamekeepers look, anybody going past. But like I say, we try and do as much hands off, just let them get on with it as much as they can. Yeah, the disadvantage is trying to find organic sheep. That's why we're keeping our own sheep. There's not enough organic breeding sheep on the market of the breed we want to buy. So that's why we're keeping our own sheep this year. Our plan was to keep buying in sheep until we get up to the number of, we want about 300 breeding sheep in total, and then we'd start keeping our own ones after that. But because of the shortage of organic breeding sheep in the marketplace, we've had to decide to keep our own this year. And I think now we're into the system, we'll just keep doing that until we reach the 300 that we want to be running all the time. The cattle enterprise at Teasses Estate, we put 150 cows to the bull every year. They're a mixed breed of cows, Angus cows, shorthorn cross cows, and Simmental bulls as well, and Simmental breeding cows. We're moving more towards the Simmental because it finishes quicker for us in the sheds over the winter. We wean the calves at 9 months old into the sheds. All the cows is housed over the winter, and we put the fattening cattle in at the same time. We keep them, they go in as yearlings, they go back out for a summer on grass, and then they go back into the shed the following year for fattening, and then they're just sold out the shed as they're fat before they reach 18 months old. Outside, the cows basically eat grass all the time. The breeding cows get given straw in the back end until they get housed, just to keep them out a bit longer, try and extend the grazing season a little bit for them. The fattening cattle are outside, when they're outside for the summer, they're predominantly just on grass. They get a little bit of barley or oats just before housing time, just to get them onto eating again. So this group here is on just about 2 kilos of barley a head a day at the moment, and then just grass. They've got a bale of straw to eat as well, just to bulk it out a little bit. The young stock, when we house them, they go on to just pit silage with a little bit of barley mixed through it. And when we house the fattening cattle, they go on to a ration of pit silage, and they get up to 5 kilos a head of barley a day in the ration to finish them as fast as possible and get them off the place. So we have as much shed space as possible for calving time. The adult breeding cows get a mineral bolus as they go in for housing over the winter. Once we confirm they're in calf, they all get an organic mineral bolus. Outside, all the cattle get organic cattle licks to keep the minerals up over the summer months for them. The fattening cattle don't get anything when they get housed the second year. The young stock all get a single mineral bolus just to get them into the system of having the minerals in them for the winter, keep them going. Currently we are using 2 Aberdeen Angus bulls, and we had 2 Simmental bulls, but we had, unfortunately, one died. So we're looking to replace that one with another Simmental bull. We did have a Shorthorn bull for a while, but the frames were too big on the cattle, we couldn't get the weight onto them. So that's why we switched to a second Simmental bull. Going forward, we probably want 3 Simmental bulls and just 1 Angus bull, because like I say, the Simmental cattle finish faster for us. We do keep all of our own replacements on the cattle front. We select probably 15 to 20 heifers every year to keep retained for breeding from, and then any other heifers just fattened after that. We've been a closed herd other than bulls since we became organic. They are just coming on 2 years old at the first calving. The bull at a year old, just over a year old, so we calve them as 2-year-olds. Our finishing market, we finish everything on the farm. It all goes through Border Livestock Exchange. Our finishing, they're outside on grass and they're inside on silage and concentrate. I'm not so bothered about the weight of the animal at finishing. We go for the R grade conformation rather than weight. We weigh the cattle, fattening cattle gets weighed every month just to see that they are progressing. But when it comes to actually selling them, we just pick the ones that are looked right by eye rather than on weight. As long as it looks like it's finished properly, we send it rather than, it doesn't have to reach a certain weight or anything like that. When it's ready to go, it goes.
Thank you. We've got a few questions here now. So with regards to selling your organic lamb, do you sell it direct to the public, or have you ever done so?
No, we sell everything through just straight to an abattoir, and we haven't sold anything myself privately or anything like that at all.
Is it something you've ever considered with, like your weddings going on, that you would be able to supply the meat, or just now is there too much going on and you just keep it simple in that respect?
Yeah, I mean, certainly as far as game and venison, we just eat from the estate larder. We've had the odd home kill that we've kept for ourselves. Our Highland cattle, we're growing that enterprise. Heifers will be for breeding, and stocks will be for beef, and that will probably be more of a meat box market.
Great, thanks. And did you ever consider buying non-organic sheep with a derogation?
Yes, we did, but you can only get a certain percentage of your flock every year, so it's too restrictive to build your numbers up at any speed. You're limited. If we were to do it this year, you'd be limited to 30 sheep again to add into your breeding stock, and it takes too long to get anywhere doing that.
Yeah, great. And what are your key performance figures? Do you have calving, lambing percentages, finishing ages, and what would be your biggest challenges compared to non-organic? That's a few questions in one there for you.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember lambing percentages. Calving percentages, we just PD'd the cows yesterday. We put 155 cows to the bull and got 149 of them in calf. So we would hope with 149 in calf, we'd end up with 140 live calves at the end of calving time.
And then have you got an aim for finishing age?
Well, all the lambs is finished from last year. They're all finished and gone now. So they were lambing last week of April, first 2 weeks of May, and they're all off the farm now. Fattening cattle, our first batch is gone as well. So 18 to 22 months is the target for the finishing the cattle.
Perfect. And your biggest challenges compared to non-organic, would you say?
If you need to put extra condition on, you can't just pump feed into organic cattle. You can't just go out and buy high protein soya or whatever you want to really fatten them up. You've just got to do it slowly with what you can grow yourself.
And your markets as well, you're limited there as well.
Yeah.
And one more question just to finish us off. Have you ever considered all forage and no grains for your feeding?
Don't think so, to be honest. I
No,
think the grain helps a little bit with everything, and it gives you a good rotation through the fields putting the grain in. And we use the straw to bulk the silage out for the older cattle. So yeah, I think you need the grain in the diet, and it gives a good rotation on all the fields as well for keeping the crops.
and it also helps us finish our cattle. We want our cattle sold before we start calving, just for shed space. I think if you were to look at the space our in-calf cows, calving cows have, certainly compared to conventional, they've got masses amount of space. So the pressure is to get those fat cattle away before we start calving, and the grain just helps fatten them a bit quicker.
Yep, great. And I'll maybe just one more. Do you have a culling policy in place for your cattle?
If it's not in calf, it gets killed.
Okay, and that's it.
It's simple as that. If it doesn't, if
And
it doesn't
and
perform, it goes down the road.
and if we have any signs of aggression, or intolerance or an inability for a human to be anywhere near it, it's culled as well. We don't
Yeah.
play with anything that could be dangerous.
Yeah.
Great.
The current cropping plan for 2026 harvest is we have winter barley that we're standing in, which is a kitty, and we have winter oats as well. And the previous cropping system that we had was everything was spring crops. We've moved, it was all spring barley when we started, which was good, but it was harvesting too late for us. A wet spring on this farm is a problem for us, and we can't get the crops in the ground quick enough. And then you were combining in October, and we were losing too much crop and not getting a combine, so we've tried to switch. This is our first year, everything is winter cropping, to try and bring the combining forward. And it means we can get the crop straight back in the ground after harvest. So we don't have any stubble over the winter now, because that's where we get the weeds from. Field standing empty and just a weed bed after that. So we've switched all to winter cropping to try and combat weeds, give us better yields, and combining quicker in the year. Yeah, this winter barley was drilled on the 21st of September. So in the spring our plan would be to springtime harrow it to control any weeds in it, flat roll it to control any pests in it, maybe graze it with the sheep. We'll see, maybe pre-lambing we'll run the sheep over it for a couple of weeks just to graze it down a bit. Then we combine it, we use all the winter barley and winter oats for feeding to the fattening cattle. We use everything on the farm ourselves. And all the straw that's produced is fed to the cattle as well. The cows are on straw outside at the moment. That's what we're using the straw up for. The soil health on the farm is a bit up and down. We need to put a lot of lime on some bits. What we do at the moment is we spread all the manure produced by the cattle, gets spread back on the farm. We buy all our straw so we don't have to give dung away to anybody, because that's our only fertiliser really. I know some farms like to do a swap straw for dung, but we need all the dung back ourselves, so we make sure we keep it all. It means the straw is more expensive, but it's our only fertiliser, so we need to keep it. We spread all the dung ourselves, either pre-ploughing crops, or we're going to try and spread some on the grazing ground this year to help grass production in front of the cattle over the summer as well. We do soil sampling, we do the manual soil sampling. We just take the samples ourselves across whatever field we're concerned about, or we generally either have concerns about a field and soil sample, or we do 10 fields a year, just random fields, just to keep an idea of what's happening in the field. Lime is our biggest thing that we need to spread at the moment. At the moment, we do a rotation of grass, oats, barley, back to grass. We're trying to branch out into fields. One of the fields we done this year was, the spring barley we put in this year was a field that hadn't been ploughed for 27 years. So we ploughed it, cropped it with spring barley, and it's gone back into grass again. As soon as it was combined, it was ploughed and put straight back into grass again. So we're trying to break new ground that hasn't been done before to get out of doing the same fields year in, year out with repeated cropping, and improve the grazing on the whole estate as well. The more you can rejuvenate the grass, the better it is for everything. Cover crops, I was going to do cover crops in the field we're standing in, but because we were combined in time, I thought we might as well just go straight in with the next crop rather than wasting a few months and putting a spring crop in. We might as well just go straight into winter crops. So I don't think we'll end up doing any cover crops. If we can keep going with winter cropping or getting grass back in the back end, we'll keep doing that rather than a cover crop. Cover crops would improve health, but you're losing 4 months of potential production. The cropping works for us because it gives us all our own winter feeding. It improves the grazing ground. Putting the grass back in, you get young grass for better silage production, for better grazing. And it helps us, because we can keep the sheep are outside all year round obviously. It gives you more options, younger grass to move them around in the hard winter. You've got younger grass for them moving on to if they need extra support over the winter.
Right, a few questions for you here. On average, how long is your grass down for?
It's been down the fields. The previous manager had a 5-year rotation. Every 5 years he was ploughing it out. We're trying to push that to take in new ground. We're trying to push that to about 8 years before we're ploughing something out again after it goes back into grass.
Great. And another question, are you getting your straw locally? On average, how far away is it coming from?
I think it's all probably coming from within a 10 to 12 mile radius.
And you don't have any issues with that. It's quite a good supply year on year. You know you're going to get it.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah, it's quite a good supply. We're buying about 1,100 big square bales every year, and we haul them all home ourselves, so it's just what we can get within driving distance on the tractor and trailer ourselves.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, the shoot here is kind of the main reason the estate exists today. We let about 45 days a year. That's from September to the end of January. So we're letting for duck shoots, pheasant and partridge. Just about over half of our business comes from the US. These are people who are flying in, they'll shoot a couple of estates, spend a bit of money in the local economy, and then fly away again. Most of the rest of the business, Scottish, domestic. We'll shoot this year, we're forecast to shoot about 8,000 birds. All the meat produced from that is either eaten by ourselves, sold to restaurants or hotels, and a proportion of it is donated to the Country Food Trust. And they make dehydrated ration packs and then distribute those around homeless shelters, food banks, that kind of thing. So everything that's shot here is used in the food chain somewhere. It's the thing that's paid for the woodland creation, the loch, the ponds, everything. The birds pay for that. So as annoying as they can be when they're blocking traffic, they're paying all the bills. Yeah, so further diversification, we also host weddings here in our walled garden. So we'll have, 20 weddings a year, something like that. And It's venue hire only. They'll get the access for 3 days, bring in their own caterers, everything, the entertainers, and we just provide the facility for them to do that. And it's proving to be really popular. It's quite a competitive market to be in, but I think people are looking for something a bit different, somewhere they can put their own sort of style and make it really special, specific to them. So we do that. That's generally throughout the summer, although we do have some winter weddings availability too. We work with agents across the world actually, and they'll bring people here to do shooting, fishing, farm tour, safari, garden tour, foraging walks, just like a full day's itinerary for up to, I think the biggest we've got next year will be a couple of hundred people. We do corporate dinners, gala events, that kind of thing, quad bike routes. Basically anything that anybody wants to do, we can facilitate that here. It generates a heck of a lot of income for the estate, but requires a lot of input. It's a very resource heavy thing to do. So it's not applicable to everybody, but we are noticing a big difference. This coming year's the biggest year that we've had so far. Key to everything, the success to everything we do here is about nurturing the habitat that we've got and that we've mostly created. So we conduct biodiversity studies, we work with local people who will report bird sightings, we'll share that on social media. We've got all this wonderful grassland. You can see we've got long grass, verges, all the hedgerows, woodland, the 40 acres of restored peat moorland up the middle of the estate. We've re-wetted the land, and that's kind of key. Farmers in the past wanted to drain to create productive land, but here we've managed to balance it, everything in balance. So we've got lots of productive ground, and then we've re-wetted big stretches of the estate just to open up that habitat. Anything along that middle bit of the estate, that sort of 40 acres, we won't put any heavy machinery on. We'll use cattle, Highland cattle predominantly, to do conservation grazing, and that will help open up. The rushes and the reeds will take over if you let them. Pop the cattle on, they'll open up grassy patches, and then we've got lapwings and other ground nesting birds which will build their nests in that space. So we've got 3 species that we kind of seek to protect here. Red squirrels, we've got lots of them, and we will trap the greys. Barn owls, we work with the Barn Owl Trust. We've got barn owl breeding boxes around the estate. And the northern lapwing, which is under pressure from agricultural practice. So those are the 3 species that we target as protection species. But you just need to look around. We've got nature absolutely everywhere. It's quite noticeable when visitors come onto the estate because they always comment on the bird noise, the sea squirrels, deer, hares. So we're quite proud of that. In fact, we were awarded a Purdy Highly Commended Award in 2019 for our combination of good sporting but with conservation at the heart of it. Yeah, so we've obviously got our winter sporting, which are driven birds. We've got some walked up days, but we also shoot throughout the summer too, summer sporting. So particularly with hotel guests from St Andrews, we work with quite a lot of hotel partners. So they'll come and do a bit of clay pigeon shooting, 2-2 rifle shooting on our rifle range, or a bigger day. We actually have simulated clay days here, so simulated game days. We've got 2 clay traps, they'll go out, and it is basically like doing a full driven day, but you're shooting clays instead of birds. So we call it all the fun without the feathers. And that's really, really popular. It's great with people who are into shooting anyway, because it is quite challenging. I mean, it really does feel like you're shooting birds, but it's usually sunny. You can wear your shorts, it's a bit more of a relaxed event. So that's kind of one way we've diversified the sporting side of the business. We're also looking at other things, simulated stalking, all the fun without the fur. And it's just it's a bit more available to most people. The price point's a bit cheaper, and young people, young farmers particularly like it. It can definitely be a challenge trying to do so much in such a small space. I mean, 1,100 acres in theory sounds massive, but it's not at all. And it can be quite controversial in the sense that the labour pressure moves with the need. So if we've got an event, a corporate event, for example, a big corporate event, most of the staff will be involved in that in some way. And of course that impacts on farming. You know, we have to be mindful of what is the sort of 9 to 5 job, if there's such a thing in the countryside, but what is the bread and butter? Let's keep doing that. Everything else is on top of that, so it shouldn't take precedence over the farming, the sporting, but sometimes there is a bit of a culture clash. The diversification journey isn't over for us at all. I mean, we are really at the start of it. I'd like to see diversification in the sporting options that we provide. So we do simulated clay shooting here, we do clay pigeon shooting, we do rifle practice. That's really attractive to corporate business. We also offer garden tours, garden events, open evenings, special occasions, weddings, all that kind of thing. But the farm is where I think we should be able to diversify a little bit more. And I've been following the Scottish agri-tourism group quite closely for the last few years, and that's a brilliant body of people and a really strong economic development, I think, for Scotland. And we see a lot of tour groups come across the estate in a year, and there is ever growing interest in farming, land management, land use, but heritage as well. And Scotland is a rural country, so we should be able to celebrate that with people.
So there's one here came in about the last video. Is the establishment of clover good enough sown in the autumn?
This is the first time we've tried it. Ask us again in the spring.
Is there anything you did differently to try and help it, or are you just waiting and seeing this year? Is it just a tester year, and then you
It's
can
just a tester. Yeah, we thought we were combined up in plenty of time. It was nice and dry weather. We thought we'd just get it ploughed up and put the normal grass seed mix in that we put in. We would have put the same mix in the spring as we did in the back end. So certainly it looked like the clover was coming in it at the moment.
Great, thank you. Another question here. What percentage of income comes from the diversified activities?
About 2/3 of our income comes from diversified activities. So I mean, the sporting is the single biggest income generator for us. Of that, a smaller percentage of that is the simulated stuff. As far as the events, weddings, garden openings, that's a good, healthy income. Between the three areas, farming, sporting, and events, we're looking at about 1 million income. We're also looking at about 1 million expense. But the three departments sort of equally contribute just about the same amount.
Great, thank you. Do you have a policy for maintaining your nutrient supply in the grassland?
At the moment, we just put the dung on pre-ploughing and we've spread lime on any ground that needs it when we sample for lime. We haven't been spreading any dung on the grazing ground at all, but we are going to start and do a bit of that just to give it a bit of feeding. But up till now, we haven't been doing that at all.
Is that something you'll be planning to do more of in the future, though? Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Another question here. As organic farmers, what makes it worth it, and what are you most proud of?
It makes it worth it. Just from my point of view, as long as the animal's been healthy all its life and is looked after as best you can, and then you see it going away and you get the grade sheets back and it meets what you wanted it to do, that's the best bit.
Yeah, my perspective similar to that. I mean, the quality of produce that we're putting out has gone up several gradings, because we're just doing it a bit differently to how the managers and the farm staff were doing it before. But yeah, I obviously I've got quite a wide remit. I'm looking after lots of things, but my absolutely favorite time of year is calving, when you are there and you're seeing calves through the night, and then you're seeing those beautiful, healthy little calves running around, and then you're fattening them and you're sending them off. So just like Chris, it's the whole process, start to finish, and having healthy, relaxed, good quality stock. But then on the wider estate, I'm seeing nature every single day of my life. From the tiniest, you walk through the gardens, you walk through the estate on a summer evening, and the sky is absolutely full of insects. And that lets us know very easily that we've got it right. We're managing the landscape in a way that's supporting all of nature. And I can, without any embarrassment, stand up and say, yes, we are a shooting estate. Yes, we are producing beef, but look at all the benefits that we're creating as well.
Um, and what's going to be your biggest challenge in the next 5 years?
We've got an imminent problem coming on the horizon, but seriously, it's the market, it's the strength of the market. Are we still going to be in the same position? Are people still going to have the money to pay for organic meat? If the market fell away and we were dropping back to the prices that conventional were getting, we would struggle. Um, we wouldn't be turning a profit, I would think. We would be probably managing, but everything be shrunk. Um, we all panicked when veganism became a thing and veganuary became a thing, but that's really washed away. That we don't see that didn't affect the market at all. But that's our biggest worry, is the market drivers. And then from the kind of sporting element, what is government policy going to look like for shooting estates?
Great, thank you. How strong is your organic status embedded in the branding and marketing of like your weddings and corporate days?
Well, the organic features as part of our sustainable tourism. We're starting the process of going through sustainable tourism awards and green tourism awards. It's definitely something that we tell everybody about and we celebrate. And we hosted a land festival a couple of years ago here that we just put on ourselves for the community so it's important to us. I guess it doesn't really come into the branding of the farm produce, because that is an organic product going to cull through abattoir, so we don't have to brand or market that as organic. Um, but it's in every other element of the estate and all of our public interactions.
Have you got any more plans for biodiversity in the next few years?
Yes, we want to create another 20 hectares of native woodland. We want to do more thorough baselining and data analysis. I think that over the last couple of years, our whole approach between the farm and everything is get as much data as you can so you know what your baselines are. And biodiversity comes into that. We're also looking at, where we can, carbon capture and all of that kind of thing. It's still a bit of a snake oil market, and we've been a bit nervous about getting into it. Land acquisition, we want to expand what we're doing here because we think we're doing it quite well. So yeah, actually biodiversity features quite heavily in our next 5-year strategy plan.
I would just like to say a huge thank you to Craig and Chris for all their time that they put into it. It's a lot of work coming out and doing the filming for the day. And unfortunately, it was such a foggy day and there was such lovely views that we missed out on. But we did the best that we could. I would just like to say thank you, Craig and Chris. It was a great tour around Teasses Estate, and wish you all the best in the future. Very exciting everything that you've got going on, and I just want to say thank you all very much for coming along tonight, and hope you have a good evening. Thank you.